What's going on YouTube? Today we're taking a look at a special Shirogorov Quantum that I actually kind of fell in my lap here. That this guy is not for sale or anything. It's a lottery knife, a really special one. That I don't know the magic number of how many of these guys are actually available or were available, but I wanted to kind of show this and give you an idea of what it looks like, some of the features of a special knife, and just kind of a quick overview. Now, one of the things as well, just for feedback wise, is that I did have a comment on showing knives on top of a wooden cutting board, that there were some concerns there. I can assure you that these knives are more than durable enough to avoid scratching on a wooden cutting board. It's just what happens is I actually have a second mic right here that I put down in the corner, and it's sitting on the cutting board, so any sound where I just gently, just tap the board, the mic picks that up really easily. So I apologize about that, but anyway, we will go into this knife. As they say, this is as normal, a very casual conversation, not going into excruciating detail. I don't think I'm the one qualified to talk at that level, but figured I would show you the Solar. So some background on this, I guess I should say. These guys were a Recon 1 draw, a lottery knife. And they weren't available in a super high quantity. The original list that I saw, it looked like there were, I want to say 10 of them. I don't know though, the COA doesn't say anything to that regard. This isn't a custom division knife or anything like that. To me, it's just a modified production knife. So if we look at some of the details, well, let's kind of go over this how we would normally. So why don't we do that? So it is a Quantum, which is a super popular knife for Shiro. And 4-inch blade, sub 9-inch length, so that should give you an idea there. 3.75, well, 3.75 sharpened, but I say 4, and 8 3/4 overall length. Wicked size. How does this compare in the lineup of Shirogorovs in terms of the Quantums themselves? Well, it's a single row bearing on this guy. So very similar to the Monkey Edge special edition here, in that it's single row bearing. In terms of the handle machining as well, it's all machined out and milled out just like the Monkey Edge. So very similar that way, but a lot more work has gone into the detail work of it. And how would this compare price wise to the Quantum Gen 2? Well, any guesses? Do we want to guess? This one is more money than the Quantum Gen 2. So before we go into a battle of machine work and multi-row bearings versus single row bearings, Chromax PM versus M390, there's a lot to unpack here, and I'll try to do it as quick as possible because I don't want to go too crazy. But the main thing here, guys, is it's a single row bearing knife. It's a production knife, Chromax PM blade with a bunch of fingerprints on it, and I apologize for that, but I do touch these knives. In terms of the handle though, and I'm going to put this blade away before I cut myself, where the details made up is different here, because whereas you're putting through a number on the Quantum Gen 2s, you're pumping volume on that, and that'll be the main comparable, I think, in what we'll talk about here. So Gen 2 1150, this guy 1300. Single row bearing, multi row bearing, okay. Chromax PM particle metal blade, M390. So, you know what? It's no. If we're looking for a knife in terms of, well, the knife is the knife is the knife, well, which is the better version here? There's no question. The Quantum Gen 2 takes that without a problem. Like, just look at it. Like, it's more knife. The difference is they are making these in bulk quantity in a highly controlled QC facility, and you can get it anytime. I have a few of them right here, and actually one that's for sale on the site. So if you want to take a look, it's on the site. If we look at this guy, assuming it's 1 of 10, I don't know, far less of them available. They've flipped that pivot. I don't know why, and in fact, see on the back here, it's still standard Shirogorov, but there's so much more work here. So each planet is in fact a different metal, from my understanding. I don't know what is what, and I'm sure there's a forum where it's written somewhere, and if I truly wanted to, I could figure that out. It's anodized titanium, so a little bit different because you don't normally see anodized Shiros, so that's kind of new. The physical distancing on the planets, I can't see them being to scale, and if they are, great, but I highly doubt it. It even has a little Pluto there, which is kind of cool. The size, like circumference, I suppose, or diameter, sorry, of the planets, I can't see them being to scale either. Although now that I'm looking at this, is it Saturn? Has a little ring around it. That's super, super cool that they built that in. And then there's Earth with the little moon beside it. I think that's a real cool detail. I never noticed that until I'm looking at it on a camera. That's terrific. So obviously a little bit more milling, more unique milling on this, on the top, but in no way is it the same, I'd say, as the Quantum Gen 2. It's just more unique and less available. No backspacer, as you can see. It's still got the standard flipper tab on here, which is great. You aren't going to have a problem with this knife. On the back side, the kind of solar pattern is continued, and I do, like I said, love that they did flip the hardware around to kind of put everything orbiting around the sun, which I'm assuming is the whole point of that. So that is pretty cool, and I dig that. You know, does the color bother you being purple? No, I just, like, this is not a knife that I'm going to ever use, carry. It's going to be in the fleet, and it's going to be looking good. The detail work is incredible. Look underneath the pocket clip there. If the camera's going to pick it up, you can see all the machine work, just like on a lot of the other Quantums I have. It's just terrific. It's through the roof. And we're at a point now with Shirogorov where the bar is set so high that unless there's an actual problem, you know, the expectation is a 10 out of 10. So when I look at this, when I feel this knife, when I play with this knife, it is every bit as normal as a production Shirogorov. There's nothing special to it in terms of, it's not a custom division knife, it's not on roller bearings, it's just something that is not as readily available. And that's cool to me. We still have that awesome built-in pocket clip on the back instead of the backspacer combo. And then in terms of those little triple prongs, there was a fella in the Shirogorov Facebook group. He had a name for these, or maybe it was David. He had a great name for these. It's like, it wasn't Bane's mask. It was something like that I just thought was so funny that I just couldn't get out of my head for a little while. But you know, the whole point of that is to fit more blade, and that's it. There's no beating around the bush on that. When you have, let's get that out of the background. When you have such a little room to work with, you have to be creative on how to actually fit the blade in up against that, and that's what they did. They did a triple prong, and I have seen it. I have seen some of these break, very rare, but I have seen it happen. So that's why you get service on it, and they'll fix that for you. But yeah, I just dig the whole solar system pattern, the orbit pattern. It just looks real sharp. But more than anything, that the planets, the detail of the planets. I never noticed that Earth has a little moon, the ring around Saturn, and little baby Pluto is even included, which is awesome. The milling work, let's take a look here, if I can get this out. The milling work on the inside is actually, I'm just trying to look, so this is hard for me to show. Yes, I'm putting the knife on the cutting board, guys. This is hard for me to show just based on the fact that the camera isn't a macro lens, so I can't just shove it inside the space between the handle. But let's see if I can get the camera to focus in. Let's see, with extra light. So you, really, eh? Sorry. Yeah, it is milled out. It is machined out. So that's all that you really need to know. One of the things as well that some people, it's kind of known, the monkey edge frag, everyone goes, oh, you know what, it's basically a standard quantum single row bearing with a different set of scales on it. And I go, you know, it's funny that that's the reaction for that knife, because I'm telling you right now, here's a standard quantum full tie, and if you pick this thing up and then you pick this guy up, you'd be like, oh my god, those are two completely different knives. So this handle is almost not even cut out or milled into on the inside. And the camera's going to really struggle with this now that I've got 3 knives up there. But it is basically, on one side, completely plain. Okay? On the inside of both of these special editions, this is machined out to remove material and to reduce weight just as much as the full standard quantum. These are both very light compared to this one. And when we're talking a monkey edge frag handle that's, you know, totally unique, low quantities, and not readily available, and it is, you know, $150 more than this guy, you know, like it's not even a comparison. Oh, it's just a standard quantum. No, it's not. It's not even close. And I have them right here. And if you want to challenge me on that, I'd love to have that conversation. Obviously in a gentleman fashion, but they are not the same. So a couple things as well. If we're comparing these two special editions, it's interesting how they remove the Shirogorov stamp on the blade. If we look at the G10, they have it on the blade as well. So it's just interesting that they kept that on this version. And then what else here? Is that pretty? No, on the R1 version as well, they do not keep it on the blade. That's very interesting that they decided to keep it there. And then on the standard, I would imagine it's on the blade on this one as well. Yeah, that is on there. So there you go. In terms of the Gen 2, no, of course it's not on there. So, but yeah, I would say that the Monkey Edge Frag is a very comparable knife to that. It's probably the closest comparable in my collection to this in terms of the build quality on it. Just because, like I said, the handles are all machined out, same blade material, same bearing system as well. It's just, you know, I think these are 700, maybe 730 or 780, one of the two, US, whereas 1300 is just a whole different conversation itself. And that's fine. You know what? When you do low quantity, you've got to get your money back somewhere. So, I understand it. And you know what? If you don't understand it, then maybe this knife isn't for you, which is fine. That's you know, they're going to sell tons of them. As you'd expect, perfect centering. The pocket clip is just incredible on these, on all Shirogorovs. The pocket clip, for the most part, absolutely terrific size-wise. I love, one of the features I always discuss is I love how when you put your hand on this knife, the pocket clip is set up in a way where it'll actually push onto the frame instead of onto the lock bar. So when you're going to shoot this guy out in hand, and your hand is squeezing around it, and you're putting pressure on the lock bar, it's not going to have any problems there, which I appreciate. Right, it defers all that force right onto the frame itself, and just makes it that much easier to open. As well, on the lock bar that we were talking about here, we do have a different piece of metal here. So an lock bar insert, which is terrific. And one of the things that is awesome about that is some people just, they always tout it as, oh, it's replaceable and more durable that way. That's not the only reason to have that. Another very valid reason is actually so that you don't have titanium on steel. You can choose the friction material so that you don't have lock rot or lock stick or whatever you want to call it. So that's one more reason there. And then in terms of everything else, I believe I've covered everything else in terms of the Quantum design itself. You know me, I love the Quantum. I've got a whole case of them. And love the flipper tab design. I like how it's integrated in, right? If you look at it, how it's like one constant angle. I like that. I love how, this is kind of a workman's design in that it doesn't have that big, thick back spacer on it. So if you want to, you're not going to get all kinds of hair and lint and stuff in there. It's still running on bearings, which is awesome. Single row versus multi-row versus roller bearing. I have all three, and the only one I don't have is multi-row roller bearing. I almost prefer single row bearings, as sad as that is. They just have less friction. They're super, super smooth, super reliable. And they just happen to be the cheaper ones. And then, obviously, once you have roller bearings, it's, there's no comparison to them. They're absolutely terrific in every imaginable way. But hopefully the camera's doing a good job picking up the different lights, different materials, those planets, which is kind of what I would probably be here to see if I was looking at the knife. And then that solar system. And the fact that the hardware's flipped, like I said, is just cool. The machine work on the pocket clip and different lights, you can kind of see the horizontal lines on it, which look amazing. And that's kind of all there is to see. I'm going to flip this a couple more times, get some action sounds for you. And remember the angle of the camera versus the angle of the carry here. That Shirogorov feel in hand, it's just nuts. The blade just wants to fall. And this is not broken in any way. It's just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing design, amazing knife. And very fortunate to have this one in the collection. So I think I'm going to leave it at there. My camera's giving me a low battery light, which is going to unfortunately interrupt this and cut this a few minutes short. So maybe I'll do another one of these down the road if we want to look at a longer-winded discussion topic. Maybe you can ask some questions and I can put that into the next one. But just wanted to show the solar in all its glory and kind of go from there. I know everyone loves the special editions and there's not enough information on these out there. I will have another special edition coming. That's kind of under lock and key right now, but there is another special edition en route, a couple of them actually, that I'm excited to show because I slowly feel like I'm becoming a bit of a Shirogorov whore, and I'm okay with that. So I apologize, but that is what it is. Appreciate you guys stopping by. If you have any questions, leave them below. Otherwise, like, subscribe, share, help the channel out. We are just starting out, so every like, every comment, every little thing definitely makes a big impact at this point. And you know what? I will definitely get back to every single comment that you guys make. So there we go. There's your Shirogorov Quantum Solar System. Thanks, guys, and we'll talk soon. Cheers.